Against? Kia ora. Thank you. 6.4, Committee, Whau Local Board, tēnā koe te rangatira Kate, the chair of the board. And Tracy, if you're still on, and I'd call for a second, if you put it in the chat bar, to acknowledge and thank Kay after her presentation, but this is in relation to item 15. And as you know, that particular item as well is not to be revoked, the reserve status. So we'll get to that. And Kay, tēnā koe.
Nā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Ko o te hiamana o te poari o rohi o te whau. Ko Kay Thomas aho. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge Chair Watson's comment on the pool and the whau. I'll just sneak that in. I'd like to thank you, Chairperson, for this opportunity to speak about a matter of concern to our community. It's now 18 months since Whau Local Board members began to advocate for 13 Davin Lane to retain its reserve status. It has involved two notice of motions and my presenting at two hearings, firstly around the reserve revocation process and secondly around Plan Change 60. Our local board has not discussed whether shared governance should be part of this process, but although it has been lengthy, we have found the process to be fair, well considered and thorough. It has increased our faith in the effectiveness and ability of residents and elected members to use democratic processes. Our advocacy for this reserve has focused on the following points, and I should have sent the slide of the tree. The native trees on the site, especially the mature pahutakawa. The potential loss of these trees undermines the local board's work on increasing our urban ngahere. Council's designation of the reserve being not in service ignores its heavy use for active and passive recreation by local residents. The reserve contributes to the social cohesion and well-being of the surrounding community. Whau is an area undergoing significant brownfields intensification and needs to retain the green space we currently have, and under our climate emergency, mature trees, reserves and green space are havens for biodiversity, sequestering carbon and mitigating the heat island effect within built-up areas. Councillors may feel that these arguments could be applied to all the reserves under consideration by the committee. But I'd like to remind you that those trees, those mature native trees in Davin Reserve cannot be easily replaced. They should be retained and protected. If the reserve status is revoked for 13 Davin Lane, we know from experience in the Whau area that the first thing private developers usually do is clear fell the site. Thank you, and I urge you to support the recommendation that reserve status for 13 Davin Lane not be revoked. Thank you.
Kia ora kei, ngā mihi ki a koe. There's no pātai in the sidebar. No, 3-second rule's gone very quickly. So Kay, again, thank you so much for your advocacy in regards to this particular item. So you're most welcome to stay as we discuss the item.
I've got a question. I couldn't respond quickly enough.
Okay, so look, I'll allow this one, Wayne, only because Kay's keen to answer any question that anybody throws at her. So, Councillor Walker, all yours.
So, I'm assuming, Kay, that the catchment of this reserve is going to be significantly impacted by intensification, which effectively means more people living in the area. Has your board done any research on the additional requirements for reserve space that you're going to need to accommodate the additional people, and further to that, the consideration that under this government-driven legislation, the outdoor living space on properties is negligible, and as you go up on second and third floors, of course, there is no outdoor ground space, just a minimal amount of deck space. So, coming back to my question, have you given any thought to this going forward, and what does it mean?
The local
Thanks.
board. Thanks, Councillor Walker. The local board has been trying hard to get a spatial plan, taking into account the intensification that is happening. We have not been successful for a number of reasons. We passed a notice of motion on this, I think 2020 or 2021, but council officers replied that it was not possible. So it is hard. We do know there is desperate need for green space, that the area Davin Lane is probably, I'm guessing, about 20 years old, so already those sections are very, very small. It is only just over 1 kilometre outside from the Newlyn transport hub, and so it will be subject to to a lot of intensification, which is already happening in the area.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Kay.
Thank you, Kay. And look, there's one more. I was going to put the recommendation, but I'll leave Councillor Hills. You are the last, and then I will put the recommendation. Kilda.
Kia ora, Chair. Thank you. And thank you, Chair Thomas. Just checking, obviously these were emergency budget related requests due to our dire budget situation, but you are aware of the agenda, that the recommendation that we do not revoke the status of the park, the land you're talking about. You do know?
I asked to speak just in case any councillors decided to vote against it.
Ah, right. Okay. I was just like, I hope that it's been made clear that what the recommendations are. So thank you.
Chair.
I was just ensuring you knew. Thank you very much for your advocacy.
Thank you, Councillor. Chair Filipina made it clear that,
Yeah.
but I did ask to speak because I was concerned about getting that majority.
So Kay
Kia ora,
knew,
thank you.
and she just wanted to make sure that nobody was going to vote against the recommendation. I told her what it was, and I said, look, I think everybody's going to listen to you, Kay, and I can't see any problems. Kia ora, Kay. Thank you. Ngā mihi ki a koe. Thank you. So I'm going to put the recommendation, moved by Councillor Mulholland and seconded by Councillor Collins. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against? Carried. Kia ora. Item 7, there's no extraordinary business. We'll then move to item 8. I will move that item, and Councillor Casey as Deputy Chair